This is sexy. I mean, is automation sexy?
If you're not using AI now, you're going to be out of the game in 3 years' time. If you're not using systems and systemization, what's happening is people are now, they've got a bit of information here, but they can't turn it into useful information. And they're making business decisions based on anecdotal evidence.
Yeah. That is, I want more of that.
And now we can start to make predictions to say that these are the 5 customers at the highest risk of churn. Now we can go and do something about marketing to those customers, giving them special offers.
What is a data scientist? You're a data scientist.
No. Definitely not.
All right. Here with Simon and Tom, the 2 experts on automation. You're here to make my life easier as a business owner. Where do we start with automation then, Simon?
I think where we start is, finding in any business, in your business, in my business, in any of your customers' businesses, is finding a way to do more from less, so be more efficient using systems and technology perhaps rather than employing people. So I think that's definitely where we would start, to talk about doing more from less and how do we systemize your business and using technology to help with that.
It's so nice, isn't it, that phrase, more from less. It's actually making me feel my life feel a lot easier when the norm seems to be, what have I got to do next? What have I got to do next? Is there a mind shift that that people have got to have to get into this automation world?
I don't think so. Maybe there is in some cases. The business that we're working with, they're coming to us because they've already made that mind shift, I think. Right. So they're turning to experts like us who know about technology to help them enable or to set up, automations. I think that's why they're coming to us. So that mind shift, I think, has probably happened. I think there are certain industries, if you think of, insurance or banking, they're traditionally quite slow to move. But again, if you look at them...
Why is that? Why are they so slow to move?
It's just the way they've always done it, I think.
But that's the banks. What about the small... Let's go small business, because...
Yeah.
Are they slow to move as well?
No, they're not. No, they're absolutely not. They're fastest to move, and the reason being is they can see the potential. They can see the opportunity here to use automation.
What is the opportunity then?
So rather than... So if I think when I ran my own business, previous to this business... would I hire more staff to do the work, or would I use systems and technology to do the same work? Those simple repetitive tasks that we do time and time again. And I chose automation and technology, and honestly that led to far more economies of scale, greater efficiencies than just hiring and onboarding new team members. And the team members that we did hire and onboard, they were doing the much higher value activities then. So so I think definitely.
I like it. So systems run the business, technology runs the business, everybody's doing the high value activities, as you say. What about you? Have you an opinion on any of this?
Yeah, I think it's very important to ask the question as to why would you automate something? Why do you need automation? I think it needs to come back to the point of how are you going to deliver a better product or service to your customer? That should be the fundamental behind the why, and then how can automation enable a business to therefore deliver a better product or service to the end customer. That should be one of the primary, if not the primary, goal for an organization. Simon touched on a point there. So, okay, if we then ask that question, how can we better enable and empower our people to deliver a better product or service to our customer? Well, we might be able to remove some of the repetitive tasks that they have to do by automation. That can be a very simple way of starting to introduce automation into your organization. What are these repetitive tasks that our people are currently having to do? And with the time that we get back from that, how can we use that time to deliver a better service, product, whatever it may be, to our customers? So I think it can sometimes be easy to fall into a trap. Talked about mindset of automation. Well, let's automate everything we can. Take a step back and first of all, ask a question, well, why do we need to automate? How will that deliver a better product or service to our customer?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you said that right at the start, I mean, how am I going to deliver a better customer experience or a customer service? That fuels you with purpose, doesn't it? Because then you're going to retain your customers longer, you're going to get more customers.
Exactly, and it also, I think there can sometimes be a worry about automation, right? automation is going to replace my job, it's going to replace my role with an organization. But if you can present to your staff as well why we're automating, it's deliver a better product or service to our customers, and automation is going to play a role in doing that by whatever it may be, enabling us to automate these repetitive tasks so you can spend your time doing these other things that gets you closer to our customer. I think it can help deliver a better product or service to your customer, but also helps with that sort of mindset shift with your employees to understand, well, actually this is beneficial as well because it's going to help our customer.
Yeah, I think it's been accepted, hasn't it? Like with the CRMs and technology that's come out over the last decade or so. I mean, we're moving into a revolution now of AI. We were touching on this just before we started. Is automation different to AI, or is it the same thing?
I think they're heavily related when I think about automation and AI. So automation might be, okay, AI is going to play a role by making a decision and implementing, or AI might play a role. So that's related to automation, right? It's going to make the decision that something needs to happen, and AI will implement that decision. Whereas AI could play a role in, it's going to present me with a number of options, but the human then makes a decision on the options that are presented. So when I think about automation and AI, it's about what role do you want AI to play in your organization? And that could be dependent on the task at hand. Marketing automation, well, it's going to make the decision that this is the best offer for this customer and it's going to send the offer to them. It's making the decision and implementing on the decision. Or it might be that it presents a number of options to a leadership team that then make the decision, and that's where human decision making and AI, I guess, overlap. So I think they're heavily related.
Yeah, well, look, decision making, when you mention that there, that's what it's all about, this, isn't it? It's about speeding things up.
Yeah.
Automation, speeding things up, giving you information to make informed decisions at a faster pace. Is that right?
Definitely. That's exactly it. It is about, Tom talks about customer experience, and faster decisions, making things more efficient. And if you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who runs a call center, for example, and you've got customers who are, they're not so happy with the service you provided, or they want to know what the various options. And if you've got AI helping with making some suggestions towards your agents, your customer service agents, so they're not starting from fresh every time they're trying to come up with the best answer. And this is where this is available today. If you look at, a technology we use called Salesforce, it can be integrated with ChatGPT, and what that does is and the longer you have it integrated, the better it gets, right? But it has, based on the answers, similar questions that were answered to your customers previously, the ones that were most picked, it will show those to the customer service agent.
Yes.
It will, have a look at the data before, try and pick out the best knowledge article, the best FAQ, or the best service that's going to service those. It'll surface those to the agent. The agent then decides actually A, B, or C rather than A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Has to think for themselves on the spot, which is sometimes quite slow. I'm putting myself in that in the shoes as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of nicer, isn't it, to be given a few options just to get you moving a little bit faster.
And what the agents then do is not only pick the answer that they think is best for the customer, they can tailor that a little bit. So it doesn't have to be very robotic or whatever. They can still, so where AI is helping, giving options to the agent, making their lives a lot easier. The customer experience is a lot better because it's quicker, it's more relevant, you would argue. And then it's easy for the agent to serve, to give a really good experience time and time again. And that's where we've seen in a matter of 6 months that this technology is now not only a fact, it's playing a daily part in all.
What impact has it had then, since even like ChatGPT? I mean, that's only one type of AI.
Yeah.
What impact has that had since you've been actually integrating that into all of the automations you've done?
I think it's a bit early to say, I think, because it still is relatively simple, relatively early days, I would say, but it's you can see already it's enabling the agents, the customer service agent. It's giving them, they feel a bit more comfortable about the options rather than having to quickly read through 50 different articles. So I don't have hard and facts stats, but I think you would. It makes the agent's job a lot easier, and it definitely makes customer experience a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned customer experience a lot.
Yeah.
Some of your smaller businesses, they don't quite have that customer service department yet. Do you think that automations is going to allow them to be more systemized in that customer service area a lot faster? So without necessarily having to have a department where we've got 15 people in it.
Well, automation can be part of the customer service team, right? So it might not have to be a dedicated team of 5, 10, 15 people, but automation essentially plays the function of customer service. So how would you do that? Simon mentioned some points there about how do we use automation to leverage the most applicable FAQ or knowledge article, whatever it may be, to a customer in a way that they can access. That means that your support and customer service function is technology and automation, where people are supporting the implementation and creation of that automation and technology rather than it being a dedicated team of 5, 10, 15 people. So I think you need to think of it as we do have a customer service department, but that might be our IT department who are creating the technology that acts as the customer service representative. I think that could be the way to think about it.
Cool. Now, look, let's say I'm a business owner. I want to automate my business. I want to speed up. Where do I start? Do I start with that question of what's the customer experience that I want to improve?
I think so. I think it's about mapping out what is your ideal customer journey, your ideal customer experience, and then thinking about, okay, well, what are the stages of that customer journey, that customer experience, and what are the touch points that we have with our customer?
Is that what you do when you start working with someone?
Yeah, so we would put together, in some projects, customer journey maps, right?
Yeah.
So these are the stages of a customer's journey. These are the touch points that we have with a customer in that journey: phone, email, some sort of portal, whatever it may be. And okay, well, this is our current customer journey. This is our target customer journey. With those touch points we have with a customer along that journey, what are the opportunities we have to automate some of that so we can move faster, deliver a better customer experience, all of that stuff that we've talked about, right? So our current customer journey might be a support agent has to read through a load of knowledge articles, pick out the best one and email it to a customer. Well, there's an opportunity to automate that, right? Key customer tags within those knowledge articles, that when a customer searches for a couple of keywords, the knowledge article with those relevant tags is sourced and automatically shared with a customer via email, in a portal, whatever it may be. So, and again, that goes back to my initial point on why are we doing this? Because if we can get that knowledge article to a customer faster, their experience is better, and the service agent's time can be used on other things, whatever that may be. So yes, I think it's about mapping out what is that ideal customer journey, what are the touch points we have with a customer in that journey, and what opportunities do we have with those touch points to improve things, make them faster, and that's where automation comes in. So that's where I'd start.
How much of a business can actually be systemized and run by technology?
A very good question. And I think it probably would depend on the nature and size of the organization. Some of the customers we work with are, I guess, startups by nature. And I guess if you go into establishing your organization with automation and technology in mind, to Simon's point earlier about some industries, insurance, banking, that have got lots of legacy data, lots of legacy systems, and maybe a culture and mindset that you need to break down to automate and systemize your business, there's a challenge there. You can overcome it, but there is a challenge, rather than maybe startups and high-tech organizations that maybe don't have as much legacy systems or on-premise systems or legacy data, or a mindset that enables you to start to map out the architecture of your business with technology and automation front of mind. So I think, to come back to your question, you can systemize and automate a lot, but your starting point probably dictates how you would then approach that.
Yeah, well, this phrase that I was taught off Brad Sugars, and he says, systemize the routine and humanize the exception. And he reckons that approximately 80% of your business can be systemized, either through checklists or and technology now. I mean, systems is technology, isn't it? And what you were saying there, startups, is it easier to do this with startups?
I think so. I think you face different challenges where, let's say we're working with an established organization that's got lots of documented processes and policies. So the processes and the policies and the ways of working that you need to systemize. So that helps. but then you have some of those barriers that I alluded to that you need to overcome. Whereas maybe with startups, you don't have, the cultural or the legacy system barrier, but you do have a barrier of maybe their processes and policies are less well defined. So you need to start with that before you can systemize anything. Otherwise, you don't have a process or a way of working to systemize. So I think it's probably easier, but that's not to say it doesn't come with challenges, because you need to go back to, I guess, my fundamental point of how do you want to serve your customers? What are the processes, policies, and ways of working that will allow you to serve the customer in that way? That needs to be defined before you can then systemize anything. So a challenge still exists, but I would say it's probably easier.
Yeah, like you've mentioned that question a number of times. How do you want to serve your customer? How many of the businesses that you help systemize and automate, how many of them actually know the answer to that question instantly versus you've inspired them to sort of think more creatively about producing something that's wow?
I think that's a great question, and I'd say not enough. I think sometimes when going into, a systems integration project and the implementation of technology, it can be about how do we replace what we currently have, or, how do we get the technology in, rather than asking some of those key questions as to, well, why are we doing this? Do we have an opportunity to improve our current ways of working and processes? And also, to keep sort of labouring the point a bit, how do you then want to serve your customers? I think with some of the companies we work with, that point is missed because there's almost a race to get the technology in rather than taking a step back, key stakeholders on the customer side aligning with each other across sales, service delivery, marketing to say, okay, this is how we want to deliver value to our customers, and having that defined before you even get into a conversation about technology and how that would support it. Because if you don't know what it's supporting, the technology is almost redundant.
You know what? I'm getting this feeling right now, and I sometimes get this, especially like when it comes to marketing. Sometimes you can sit with a marketing consultant or an expert in marketing, and you're like, "Wow, that is really good. I've got to go away and do that." And sometimes it's just easier to just say, "Yeah, let me buy the expertise. You do that." To almost outsource the kind of marketing type thing. And I'm getting that feeling right now of because some people try and do this themselves, and I'm thinking it'd just be so much better that the experts do it now. What is that common?
Yeah, I think we see some customers trying to self-implement and integrate systems themselves, and I think
like if I was to do it, I don't know what you know. I'm going through a whole learning journey, which is vast.
Yeah, I think obviously we have the expertise, right? We have the experience. We can see mistakes that have been made in some of these similar projects that we know how to overcome. Yeah. So that's where, I guess the real value comes. We can do things faster because we're aware of the hurdles and the pitfalls and how to overcome them. I think what we see with some customers is their want as part of their IT technology strategy to create internal capabilities to deliver some of this stuff themselves. So automation. And I think that is a good approach to have, that as long as the right people and teams on the customer side are obviously enabled in the right way to deliver that. But if the head of service delivery can start to create automations themselves in whatever systems they're using, they're a lot closer to their business and their customer. And I think that's a good long-term strategy for a customer to have. But I think that comes in time, and the initial implementation, the initial change, I think is best managed in a combination of customer and consultancy that knows the obstacles that you need to overcome.
Yeah, well, you get the best of all worlds then, aren't you? Simon, why did you get into this tech business? This is your second tech business.
Well, the first wasn't a tech business, but this is the second business I had, but we certainly use tech to run our business. Why did I get into it? Because I don't know, maybe I'm just a geek at heart. I don't know what it is. I think, so the reason I joined, Salesforce is the technology that we use a lot. So the reason I joined Salesforce is because I came across it, I was introduced to it by our web guy, basically, who just said,
it's not a one size fits all. This
Correct.
is a complete bespoke, tailored
100%.
automation system and process.
Yeah.
This is across all elements of business here: sales, marketing, delivery.
Yeah.
And customer
beyond,
service.
and field service and
finance,
mobile, and everything else. Yeah. Yeah, but there's a, so to answer your question, why did I get into it? Because I just saw, and it's the reason why we're talking today, the efficiencies that automation and technology can bring to small business, and I saw that firsthand. So it was, as I said to my point earlier on, rather than, you know, employing 10 more people, I was able to either, you know, assign them to other aspects of the business, other areas of the business where they could really add value, or or just use technology to do the low value items that need to be done time and time again.
I do think, you know, you're saying the people that come to you have already had the mind shift. That's what you said at the start.
Yeah.
I get to see that on the front line because we've got hundreds of coaches that are just coaching small businesses all over the place. So I get to see sometimes that mind shift versus what have I got to do versus the mind shift of how can technology make my life easier? How can technology speed me up? How can technology scale this business? How can technology deliver a great customer service and experience? So what about this then? Tom, you got me thinking of this question. You know, when you've got that automation and systems and processes all mapped out, all in place, all automatically working together, your team are behind it, how much value does that add to the business?
Lots. It adds lots of value because your customers getting a better experience, your people are spending their time on more productive activities, your decision making is improved because you can, if you systemize the business in the right way, trust the output, the reports, the data that it's giving you, so your decision making is informed without assumptions and can be better trusted. Better customer experience, people deployed on more productive activities, better decision making, and I guess competitive advantage. We talked about AI earlier, and I think your question was on sort of the impact around that. I think one of the impacts is that people are now realizing that they will need to do this, whatever this may be for their business, because their competitors are going to be thinking about it and doing it. We still need to find what that actually is for some businesses, but I think there's a higher level of awareness that, well, if we don't do this and our competitors can go to market faster, open up in new markets faster, deliver a better customer experience, we're going to be behind. So I think that's where we're starting to see the impact on organizations.
Yeah, and look, sometimes when a business owner looks at the lens like that, our competitors are doing this, and it can cause a bit of stress, a bit of worry, a bit of fear. This is quite normal, yeah? Where can I get confidence from if I'm the owner then? What's going to give me the most amount of confidence and belief? Where do I start? Do I just start to use something or speak to you guys?
Yeah, I think look for success stories within your industry. So whether that's speaking to other founders that people know, or speaking to an organization like Salesforce that will have lots of case studies in lots of different industries. So find success stories within a similar organization, similar industry. Speak to experts like ourselves, because we will also be able to provide some of those success stories and case studies. And I think when people start to see success stories, case studies that are relevant to them, that starts to give them the confidence,
really
right?
When people come to you then and say, we're pulling our hair out here, it's a mess, we need to automate all of this. I'm guessing that sometimes that happens. Do they say to you then, have you got any success stories what other people in our industry are doing?
Yeah, and I think we see that in every customer, really. Everyone always wants to see about, well, okay, what are other organizations doing? What can I learn from? And I think that starts to give business owners confidence. I think another key part about giving business owners confidence in, systemizing parts of their business or automating parts of their business is start small within your own organization. So the investment's slightly smaller, I guess the risk is slightly smaller, but then when you see success within your own organization, that also breeds confidence. It's one thing to see it in a case study of another organization, that helps, but it's even more when you see it, okay, we're going to start small within this region or this function, whatever it may be, automate, systemize part of the organization, develop the learnings from that as to how we rolled that out within that region or that function within our organization. That's the best way to install confidence, when you see it working in your company in a de-risked approach. And I think that's one way of doing it.
Look, you passed that for me, to be fair. I'm representing the business owners out there, and I'm feeling a little bit better out of that. And I am getting the vibe though, the sooner the better, because I mean these are some stats that I got shared from a recent sort of business exit, business sale conference. So the average unsystemized, unstructured business would sell for between 1 and 2.2 times EBIT, and yet a system that's a business that's run by systems and technology, that's not as dependent on the owners, there's very many variables, will sell for up to like between 5 and 7 times.
Yeah.
I mean, when I talk about value, it's not just the emotional value and the value of the customer. I'm talking about the pounds or the euros or the dollars or whatever it is of the business that it's worth.
We see that with venture capitalists. They will, as part of the condition of investing in a company or buying a company or whatever, they will absolutely insist that they put in a CRM or some sort of systemization, some sort of technology in the next X number of years, X number of months to bring them on.
Do they go years or months first? That's
months.
really interesting.
No, it's months. It's months because I mean they want to be in and out, in years. But it's
What is it? All right, let's say it is months. What is the sort of lead time, or how long does it take to get technology running a business? It's a bit of a mess. We've got a few bits of technology here and there. We need to be more efficient. From initial, the average business, what is it? How long is it until it's fully like, here's the system that's built?
It's a good question again.
It's a very good question. We get asked that quite a lot, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
Simon, it's very difficult to answer.
Give us a few ranges then for a smaller business, medium business, a bigger one.
Well, let's say we've got a startup, it's a small organisation that doesn't have any of those legacy challenges that I mentioned earlier.
No cultural challenges.
I think in a couple of months you can get something that's running the majority of the organisation. If we're going to a large insurance firm that's got tons of existing data systems and a cultural challenge that we need to overcome, then maybe we're looking at 12 months, for example, right? So there is a range there. However,
it's not good enough though, that 12 months of friction versus frictionless for the... Come on, we've got to be able to fix that. In this podcast, we've got to be able to say, no, 12 months isn't good enough. I've got to go through pain culturally for 12 months.
Well, I think there's also another way of thinking about it, that it's never a one and done thing. And I think that's sometimes the mindset that customers have, that, okay, we're going to come in, we're going to implement Salesforce, whatever it may be, right? And at the end of the project, it's done. And now this is running our organization. That's not the case. Things move a lot faster now. Customer expectations, challenges within certain markets, competitors. So I don't think it's right to necessarily think about it that, okay, we've gone 6 months, we've implemented this system, and now our work is done. No, the system needs to constantly be evolving and changing to adapt to changing customer expectations, new competitors, new markets that you're opening up in, new ways of working that you need to adopt to deliver that changing customer experience. So it's about also having a way of working within your organization that means that you can consistently and constantly bring in change to those systems that helps you adapt to those external challenges. That's the right way to think about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. And, phase 1, phase 2, even for the most culturally challenged business, could you do phase 1 in 6 months?
I'd say...
I don't know why I'm putting the time on it.
It's a great question. It's a great question. And not to buck the question, but I'd say that's not necessarily the question for us as the consultancy. It's a question for us and the senior stakeholders within that organization that has the cultural challenge. What they need to make sure is in place is that the CEO, the COO, whoever it may be, the senior people within that organization have primed and prepped their people as to why we need to change. Yeah. We can play a role in advising and helping with that, but that's the responsibility of the stakeholders.
Do you
of the
play
customers.
that role though? Because that's about management, it's about leadership, it's about communication, yeah? Do you play that role in helping be the conduit between them and the communications that go out?
We can. So we're actually establishing a change management offer, and I guess that's what this would fall into, where we can play a role in having some of that responsibility to, this is why the change is happening, creating that awareness and understanding from the people within the organization that you need to get on board and win hearts and minds. but I still see that as ultimately being the accountability of the senior people on the customer side.
But let's say that's me, yeah? Let's say I've got this business and there's a bit of resistance to change here, it's a bit of a mess, and we've been doing it this way for the last 10 years, etc., etc. You're going to give me some advice now, and I've got to go and do this stuff. What have I got to go and do?
Yeah, so let's not talk about technology until the business is ready. The technology is, in my view, the easy bit. Getting the organisation ready for the change is the tough bit. So what you need to do is you need to create a compelling reason and vision as to why your organisation needs to change. You need to make sure that your senior leadership team are on board with that. They've had a chance to input into that process, so they have buy-in.
Inclusion.
Yep, and they've started to communicate that to their managers and ultimately the rest of the organisation. So I'd say you need to start to create an awareness campaign that has a compelling reason, buy-in from your senior stakeholders, and start to create a group of people that are influential within the organisation. They could be leaders, they could be managers, they could be your top salesperson, whatever it may be. You need to create that group of people that are going to help you drive the change, and they need to have time aside within the project to be able to play that role within your organisation.
Yeah, I mean, you're inspiring thoughts, and put myself in those shoes now, and it feels like the quickest and easiest way to do something like that is to, have a whole company-wide open discussion, get everyone in, or somehow communicate with everyone at once, and maybe even ask the question, how can we help make your lives easier?
Yeah.
Or how can we use technology to make your lives even better? Yeah. Is that the sort of thing that people do?
Yeah, exactly. And that's some of the preparation work that I think is needed, right? So I think people feel more open to change when they've had a chance to input into that process, talk about the problems they're facing, 100%. Right? And if they think, well, okay, this senior leadership team aren't doing this project for the sake of it, they're doing it for these reasons, and they're going to start to address the problems that I've spoken about and had a chance to input into the process with. So getting people brought in that way, I think, is a step that's sometimes missed, and the risk you then face is people think, okay, this project is happening for the sake of it, I'm going to have to move and change systems and learn something new without understanding the wider context behind it and the objectives that the project and the system is trying to help the organisation hit.
Yeah, look, I get the point. It's the key. Simon Collins says it really well. The key to commitment is involvement. You want everybody in the team committed to where we're going here, and let's get them involved. Let's let them voice. The other thing that's springing out here is I can't hide from this neither, because everybody else is doing this. AI, they reckon if you're not using AI within 3 years, you're gone.
Yeah.
Arguably automation's even faster than that, isn't it? I mean,
it is here now, and I think back to the point I was just making about involving your people, your employees. I think the best customers that we can work with are the customers that involve their customers as well. So, okay, we might go and ask our employees how automation can help them, how it can make their lives easier. But the customers that involve their customers and say, how can we deliver a better, to go back to my original point, service or product to you, are the ones that are going to think about using technology in a different way, where they have that external lens on how they could use it, not just the internal one where there might be a level of, I guess, confirmation bias that, okay, the service delivery team think this is the best way of doing it. Well, go and ask your customer if that's true or not, validate it with them, and then you'll get some better insights as to how you can use technology.
Yeah, look, insights, feedback, that's the second time that you've drilled that point in, actually. It's not just about asking your team, it's about asking the customers.
Yeah.
And as a company, ActionCOACH, I mean, they're coaching thousands of business, so you know what the most common excuse that comes back for not doing customer feedback and customer research is, don't have time, not thought about it, working in the business too much. It will take time, it will take effort, it will take focus. How important for the businesses that do this, the customer piece, and versus the businesses that just stick with their employees in an easy form of communication? What's the difference in in end output?
I think it helps you overcome some of those internal hurdles of getting your people to think why the change is needed, because if
It's not about you, it's about them.
exactly, if an employee can see, well, okay, we're making this change because we've engaged with our customers and it's going to address their feedback, you would like to think, right, that the people within an organization are there to serve their customers. And if they are, and they see that that's how you're approaching the project, then immediately that's a way of getting them on board. So you're breaking down some of those hurdles internally. And also you get a different perspective that, okay, maybe some of your customers are considering going to a competitor because they give you access to information, FAQs and a certain portal. Okay, now you've got that bit of insight that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't spoke to your customer who happened to be thinking about moving to a competitor, and that could feed into your roadmap of how you can then use technology to serve them better and retain that customer.
Certainly inspiring me this, because at first it was, where are we going with this automations? And now I'm thinking, this is sexy. I mean, is automation sexy? I mean, on the other side of it, it's sexy as hell, isn't it? You've got automation running your business.
The results are sexy. I mean, they really are. And to Tom's point earlier on,
So you, Simon.
sex is not.
You want to see his dance moves. You want to see them.
Yeah, sexy is not the right word, I don't think, but it's a game changer.
Well, you know why I said that? There's a lady that was involved in writing the book Rich Dad Poor Dad that everybody knows is Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
And Sharon Lecter, she's called. And she says, assets are sexy. And she says that, and she drills the point to the bit where you want more assets. And you've just, and the reason I was thinking that is because you drilled me for the last, I don't know, half an hour, how long we've been speaking. And I'm thinking, I want more of that. That's sexy. That is, that was where that comment came from. So if you don't think it's sexy, what is it then?
I think it's fundamental. I think you talked about, using AI. If you're not using AI now, you're going to be out of the game in 3 years' time. I think if you're not using, and it's not just automation, if you're not using systems and systemization to create a dashboard for your business. I like to think of a dashboard. I'm not sure if people who are listening to this have seen a dashboard, an output of a CRM. So the health of my business is like the dashboard of a car. So in other words, do I need to fill up with gas or petrol? Do I need to, am I running too hot or whatever? So a dashboard should be the dashboard of your business. So it should be, how many leads have I got? Where are they coming from? What marketing campaigns are working? What are not? What's my return on investment in marketing? Right through the whole sales funnel, right through to onboarding your customers and then customer experience and then upsell, cross-sell, resell, servicing. So there should be every aspect in an ideal world of your business. The information should be there. To Tom's point earlier on, it's that information that should allow you to empower you to make business decisions in real time. Because what's happening is they've got a bit of information here or loads of data here, but they can't turn it into useful information. And they're making business decisions based on anecdotal evidence. Yeah. They're making, so that to me is the sexy part, this is the truth. This is what's happening. Will I do this marketing campaign again? No, because the return on investment isn't there. Will I do that golf day again? Yes, because from that we got 100 grand's worth of business or whatever the case may be. So that to me is the reason I get into technology. The reason that it is sexy to me is that, and we are doing that all day, every day. People will go, when I say we are doing that, we are making that happen for our customers, right? So people say, how quickly can we get it up and running? Even just start, to Tom's point, even just looking at your marketing pieces.
Is there a lot of impatience for people want it now?
Of course there is. I mean, they're spending the money, they want it now. Then you got the other side, you got people who, they're worried about their jobs. They're saying, is this going to replace me? Or you've got people who, for whatever reason.
Does it replace them?
No, I don't think it replaces them. I don't think it'll ever replace them.
I've not heard that, but there's that fear factor involved with the future of AI. When, I've just recorded a few podcasts on AI, and it's the people that are using AI that are going to be the valuable ones.
Yeah, I think less about maybe replacing, more about how will my role change within this organization. Will it be augmented by AI that can help into the decision-making process, or present recommendations to me about how to best solve this problem or serve this customer need? Or will my role change in a way because some of those repetitive tasks have now been automated, so my time is going to be spent on other things. So I think it's less about replacing in the sense that I don't have a job anymore. It's that my job is going to change because of this technology that's now being used within my organization. I think that's the way I'd think about it.
Yeah, and I think to that point, I think you now have positions that are key to any organization, especially I think the larger organizations now have CIOs. They are involved in this. 10 years ago, there were no CIOs. You've got data scientists. They're one of the best paid people on the planet, right? Because data is power, and turning that data into useful information, that's power. So I think it's.
What is a data scientist?
Tom?
You're a data scientist.
No.
Definitely not. I'd say it's someone that can understand how can we make informed, correct, accurate decisions out of the information that we're collecting as an organization. So, for example, head of customer success might come to you as the data scientist and say, we've got 1,000 customers and I want to know which ones are most likely going to churn in the next 12 months. Where are our attrition risks? The data scientist can then work on understanding, well, okay, if we look over the last 5 years worth of data, we can see that the key contributing factors, data points to customer churn are not logging into our portal, having this particular customer success agent.
Not logging into the portal.
Whatever it may be, right? But so
that must be seriously common.
Yeah, what are the key?
They're not engaged. The customers aren't engaged.
What are the key variables? What are the key data points that have shown us that a customer is likely to churn? Then let's apply that to our current customers. And now we can start to make predictions to say that these are the 5 customers at the highest risk of churn based off of previous data. So we have a level of confidence. Now we can go and do something about marketing to those customers, giving them special offers, taking them out on a golf day, whatever it may be. So I'd say a data scientist is someone that can use previous information, previous data to help leaders in an organization answer key business questions to then proactively do something about it.
Yeah, look, I'm getting blinding flashes of the obvious all over the place here. So we've got CIO, we've got a data analyst, and I did a podcast with former Dragon off Dragon's Den called Piers Linney recently, and he talked about having a head of AI. Literally, you top businesses out there have all got heads of AI now. I mean, that's another sort of seat around the similar table to these others, and you're like an outsourced specialist, subject matter experts, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess at that point of head of AI is about a company being ready for that, I guess, right? Yeah. Some will, some won't. And I guess there's...
You're definitely on the front foot right now if you've got a head of AI, aren't you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I think we're all agreed. It's, you have to be in it to win it, right? It's going to be in it. The thing about it is there's no front runner at the moment, I don't think, and I think it's too early to predict what's going to happen. But I think unless you're ready to use all of this information, if you're not, the biggest problem.
You don't need to though, do you?
Which need to
you use all of this information.
Well, I think the biggest problems we have from our customers, especially the ones that have been around for a while, is they've got all these disparate systems. And they've got multiple sources of the same thing in terms of data, right? They've got no single source of the truth. They don't know. So if the marketing officers, to my point earlier on around which is our best marketing campaign, they've got so many different systems for marketing alone that they can't really give you that. So I think in an ideal world, you'd have everything in one place. And this is why you need a platform to choose. And the idea would be that you would now have this information all in one place, and that's where the data scientists come in. They're pulling all this information from all over the place, all this data from hundreds of sources, and they're trying to get to that single source of the truth. What is the information that allows us to move on? What is the correct answer to the question we're asking? And that is, again, James, you speak to loads of customers, I'm sure, that you ask them a simple question. What's your best marketing campaign, for example? Most of them wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah.
So I think the ideal...
I bet 95% plus.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing is, no matter what, we specialise in Salesforce, that's just one platform, but there's loads out there, and the aim that everybody wants is that they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And that is a behemoth task, and it's not necessarily always possible. So I think what AI is doing is taking all of this information from multiple sources and giving you the best outcome that the AI thinks is correct. But if you have a system that's already connected, right now, you don't have AI, but if you can add AI on top of all of that information, that's a game changer. So I think step one is to get as much information together in one place as you can. And then if you put the AI layer on top of that, well, that's game changer. And you're using...
Speeds up, yeah.
Oh, that's the thing. It's speed, yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. I think if I think about this point less as someone that works for a consultancy that's advising on this type of stuff for customers, and more as a consumer, why do I stay with Spotify? Well, because it has lots of data, lots of information about me, and it's not a person at Spotify that says, Tom's listened to Oasis, let's recommend Blur to him. It's AI that can automate that and use all of that information that it's gathered on what I've listened to, where I've stopped listening to something, the albums that I've liked, and so on and so forth, and then can make predictive recommendations to me to say, have you thought about listening to this artist? Here's a playlist that we've automatically compiled to you. And what's the outcome of that? The outcome of that is that I pay my subscription month on month, because it's given me a better experience, because I'm giving it data and it's using that data in a positive way to give me a better service. So that's, I think, an example of, if I think about it as a consumer, where AI is playing a positive role in my life, right, as a customer of that organization.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, the single source of truth, that's a really powerful phrase, that. And what you do is you make the important things visible.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, and this is about visibility. You can't manage the invisible neither, so this is about informed decision making. Mm-hmm. And a really good coach, I'm going to mention his name, it's called Alan Brighton. He's one of the best business coaches that I've ever met. He's been doing it 20 years plus. And he said this to me a number of years back, and you reminded me then. He said, it's the same challenge for every business. How does the information get presented in front of them? And getting that information presented in a meaningful way is the biggest challenge. And that's basically what you do.
That's fundamentally what we do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You get the most meaningful information put in front of people as soon as possible in a meaningful way, yeah? And for startups, it's even faster because it's frictionless.
Indeed.
Well, another thing I wanted to mention was, I often speak with people like a marketing company. They do the marketing for everyone else, and they don't do as much marketing on themselves. And accountants, they do the accounting for everyone else, and they don't really look after themselves. But there's a compliment coming here, because, I've had a look behind the scenes at your stuff. You're doing all of this on yourself. You've got dashboards giving you all of this information about, you are literally walking the talk.
Yeah, I think it's important to practice what you preach, I guess, for a couple of reasons. One, so we can run the business in the right way and make those informed decisions. If we weren't doing that, then we wouldn't be making the right decisions, because we wouldn't have the right information presented to us at the time we need to make that decision. But also for credibility as well. It's probably be disingenuous to stand in front of a customer and say, this is what you should be doing, this is how you should be approaching the rollout of systemizing the business, if we weren't doing that ourselves. So I'm sure there's things we could be doing better, but I think we are very good at practicing what we preach with the use of technology internally.
Yeah, a lot. I've seen some of it. I've seen some of it. So you're definitely walking the talk, because I know we've talked a lot about the other business owners learning from these automations. But let's have a look at, because you're scaling the business as well. Yeah, you're scaling the business up. Mm-hmm. What have been some of your lessons as you've been scaling this business up? You're almost at almost 30, 40 employees.
Yeah.
So what have been some of your lessons along the way?
I think it's a great question. I think it's focused on what's important, not just what's urgent. So there's urgent, there's...
Good old Stephen Covey classic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, otherwise, like I found for the first year, I suppose, firefighting mode the whole time, because everything's important, right? The urgent things are to do the business plan and where are we going to scale. The second most important thing is probably one of my ActionCOACH, week number 2 learnings was get the right people on the team. No, wrong quote. Get the right people on the bus and put them in the right seat. I think that's key.
That's what you did with Tom, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, is Tom a geek?
Is Tom?
A geek.
I think we're all geeks. Tom's a proper geek, though. I say Tom does this the weekends as well, not when he's not getting paid.
You like spreadsheets. Well, you don't like spreadsheets. You like automations.
I like automations. I like having the right information in front of me at the right time to then make decisions.
You certainly process information really fast, don't you?
For sure.
There you go.
Yeah. No, people are for us especially. We're a service business, right? So we're only as good as our people. And I think you said it earlier on. Your people run your business. The systems run the people, and I think that's key. Is that the right saying?
Systems run the business. Your people run the systems.
Okay, that's it. Okay, I knew it was one of those, and that's absolutely right. But it's having the right people, because they're the ones who help with us anyway. Point out where the bottlenecks are, where the problems are. They are the ones that are talking to our customers. They're the ones who point out, here's what's wrong, here's what's right, and then we fix that and improve the whole time. That's another good
thing for your business, that you walk the talk. So systems run your business, your people run the systems. Then you've got into leadership in a big way. We're looking at scale list, communications going up. We're recruiting the next whole set of people. All right, I've got some quick questions for you now coming up. So cool. you've both got to answer these questions. So, what's your favourite book, Tom?
My favourite book, novel or
non-fiction if you can, but if you want to give us a novel.
I'd say non-fiction. I read a book recently on the meritocracy trap that was very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've not read it yet.
I'll lend it to you. It's very good. Insightful.
Yeah, the meritocracy. So there's another gentleman I coach actually who's massively into that. What about you?
2.
Go on. Be greedy then. Be greedy.
The E-Myth Revisited is my probably favourite one. Big myth.
Why is that your favourite? Was it the first one you read on business, or was it the mind shift that
No, it was just the mind shift. It was just the mind shift. And it was, I think we're talking, systemization, people, experience, all of that kind of thing. And then the other one is Good to Great.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the hedgehog, your default mode, your North Star.
2 classics there. Yeah. The small business mind shift that comes with the E-Myth, and then Good to Great. Now you're thinking about making a really sustainable business, taking it into scaling it up to a really good place. So 2 really good. What about then the
meritocracy trap?
No. The other one that you were going to go, the novel.
Tale of Two Cities.
What's that about?
Paris and London during the French Revolution. Very good. Yeah. I'll lend it to you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Keep you busy.
What's your favourite movie?
Favourite movie? Probably the first Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, number 1 or number 7?
Number one.
There's only 3, isn't there?
There's number 3, yeah. The first one, I'd say.
Yeah, number 1, Lord of the Rings. It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very good.
You got to watch all 3 though if you're going to watch one.
You do, yeah.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
I tried that before. I didn't quite last through it all.
Well, you won't last through it all if you start at 9 o'clock at night.
No.
Because they do last about 3 hours, don't they?
It's a good bank holiday weekend.
Start in the morning.
Watch
all 3.
I'll do that tomorrow.
What about you, Simon?
I think we talked about this before. Shawshank Redemption. I think that's. Yeah.
Did we talk about this before?
We did. Yeah, we did.
That's mine.
Very good film.
So why is that your favourite?
I think it's just the story. I think the whole thing is just amazing. The friendship, relationships. First of all, what you call it. Giving the ending away. What do you call that? Something alert?
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Spoiler alert here.
He was innocent.
We found the words.
Sorry. Spoiler alert. But he was innocent all the way along. So the whole thing, the friendships, exactly.
Really good.
Yeah, and the new Barbie movie, definitely.
Well, you do look like Ken.
I haven't seen it yet.
You do look like Ken. I'll give you that. I'll give you that, Simon. That's a compliment.
Maybe 20 years ago I looked like Ken. Maybe.
Does Simon look like Ken?
No.
People will comment. Let's see. Right, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
If I could have a superpower, what would it be?
Do you want me to pick on Simon first next time?
No, I think I'd go with artificial intelligence.
Oh,
There you go, relevant.
Look at that.
Whatever that might
Moving
mean.
with the times, AI.
Yeah,
Did you see the AI?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Of all the things you could pick, yeah.
You are a bit like an AI, though.
Yeah, he is.
I'll take that as a
Are you sure-
compliment
are you
for
sure
now.
you're not already got that power?
He's plugged into the internet the whole time. I think. Yeah. For me, then it would be. I mean, there's two things. Selfishly, I'd love to be invisible, just disappear, just
sneak up.
Yeah. Not only that, just sneak off. Really.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
No, but I mean something like be able to cure diseases, old diseases, or
Yeah.
war at the minute.
Do
I
you know?
suppose.
Do you know? I asked my dad that question. And he said something. I could never choose anything other than this after my dad influenced me. He says, "If you could have a superpower, this is it. You can heal people. That's your superpower. Heal people." Oh, it's like got me.
Yeah,
I
for
couldn't
sure.
choose another. So you just said the same. There.
Yeah.
There you go. Favorite holiday destination? Simon first.
Oh, Canada, Vancouver, I would say.
Yeah.
That's where. Yeah,
My wife, Kerry, she loves Vancouver.
Yeah, it's probably the. And I love it so much. It's the only other place I apart from Dublin, that I could see myself living in. I don't know why.
Right.
Just the quality of life, the weather. It's obviously decent or terrible,
Yeah.
depending. So somewhere like there. The outdoors, skiing. Walking during the summer, cycling, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Tom?
Cape Town.
Why?
I think you've got the mountain, you've got the sea, culture's very different, very sort of outdoor lifestyle. You've got cricket, rugby, sport mad down there. Yeah, wildlife, it's got a bit of everything, I'd say.
Early bird or night owl?
More of an early bird these days. It probably used to be a night owl, but early bird these
Early
days.
bird.
Yeah.
How old are you, Tom, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 34 on Monday.
34 years young. Eh?
Yeah,
Last Monday.
last Monday. Yeah,
Happy birthday.
thank you very much.
Night owl for sure, but have to be both now.
Do you know, I ask everybody that question, and there is an expectation. A lot of people say early bird. More people have said night owl. And surprisingly, and all of the rationale behind it. If you could have one day, Simon, in someone else's life, who would you choose?
Apart from you, James.
Oh,
Obviously. One day, oh God, that's a good one. I don't know. Oh, someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, just to see. I've just watched these top of mind because I watched the thing about on Netflix.
Proximity is power, isn't it? I mean, literally the last thing that you've just seen and immersed in is what consumes your thoughts. So it's amazing that you'd say that now after just watching that.
Yeah. Because, to me, I would have seen Terminator or we'd see whatever else. He's a bodybuilder, but everything else that he's done, like, he couldn't do so much and he just made himself do it. Just focus. Keep going until he became the best of the best. So really impressive. Really, I'd love just to learn what's going on in his mind, and he's just obviously so happy with himself now. So.
I asked Gabby Logan that question, and she said, Jessica. She says instantly, she goes, Jessica Ennis in the final of the Olympics when she won that night.
Yeah.
That night, I want to be her on that night.
Yeah.
One day. Who are you?
Maybe like a leader of, I don't know, current Prime Minister or President of the USA, just so you can sort of get an understanding and appreciation as to what must a day be like with that level of responsibility and all of the decisions that you would need to make. Something like that, maybe.
Folks, you heard it today. Tom would like to be Donald Trump.
I was thinking that.
However you cut this, those words did not come out of my mouth.
Yeah. So just
Make sure that stays on.
There you go. You heard it, folks. Top 3 trusted advisors in your life.
Davina, my wife, number one for sure. My dad and my brother, probably equally 2, and then you. We speak all the time.
Yeah.
We talk a lot of stuff out. Get to decisions. which generally tend to be right. Yeah. So
there you go. Generally. That's the way of the world. What about you, Tom?
I'd say my mum and dad for different reasons.
What reasons then?
Mum in terms of emotional intelligence and how to relate to people, and my dad from, I guess, decision-making intelligence perspective.
That's a good combination, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is a seriously good combination.
I guess you need both, right?
Yeah.
And I used to work with someone called Gareth, who I learned a lot from as well.
How old was Gareth, by the way?
How old was he?
Yeah, how old were you? How old was he?
I was probably 24, 25, and he's probably 31, 32.
Okay, so more experience than you in that.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was very fresh in my career about how to deal with people in challenging situations and how to make decisions and say that sort of stuff.
You see, I'll tell you why, because I read a book recently, and between your 20s and 30s, or whenever you start working in your 30s, the book was saying, don't choose where you want to work based on the business. Choose it based on the manager, the boss, the leader. Who's going to teach you the most and get the best out of you and give you that sense of development. So really interesting that you chose that person, Gareth. Do you want to give him his surname and give him a moment of fame?
Gareth Stevens.
There you go, Gareth Stevens. If you're listening, there you go. Thank you very much.
I'll send in the link.
Yeah. Do you want to thank him whilst we're here?
I'll thank him on my own time.
All right. So, what's the first thing that people should do, having listened to this conversation? What do you reckon?
I would say think about their own business. Obviously, think about what are the biggest pain points. So, be that sales or marketing or bottlenecks in operations or whatever the biggest pain points are. Look to that first to systemize. I think to Tom's point, I couldn't agree more. So talk to competitors, perhaps, if they'll talk to you. What are they doing? Because they'll have the same problems. Other businesses, a coach. Talk to someone like us. Doesn't necessarily have to be like us. How do the other companies get over that particular problem using technology? And I think if you do talk to someone like us, is get a customer success story, get a reference, get a testimonial of something. So we've done over 600 projects. We've seen probably a lot of use cases that we can probably think back to and introduce them to a customer.
But Salesforce globally have done hundreds of millions of projects.
Oh yeah, they would have done. Yeah, loads. Yeah, huge amounts. So,
but maybe not hundreds of millions, maybe hundreds.
But
I'm thinking
tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
A lot.
So they probably have
into the millions.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure because how
old is Salesforce?
Since 1999, 24 years old.
24 years old.
Yeah.
It's got to have done a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's got a long time, absolutely. I'd say local businesses. Everybody thinks their business is unique, but fundamentally they're not. And this is what we like. Businesses. It's you've got a product or you've got a service, and you've got people and you've got customers. I mean, it's not. It's not for us. It's not rocket science. There's a lot of detail in it, but fundamentally it's the same thing. The fundamentals of business don't change. So if there's a problem that somebody else has had that same problem. Most companies have had the same problem. So talk to them around the same size, ideally in the same industry, and ideally not in your locale. Ideally in the States or the UK. Some of the the more technically advanced countries, I'd say.
Very nice. What do you reckon? What do you think the first thing is, Tom?
I think I'd go back to my original point maybe. Look at why you might be losing customers and look at why you aren't winning customers that you're trying to win, and then build a strategy off the back of that. That would give you an understanding as to what you maybe need to change to attract and or retain customers. So I'd start there.
Beautiful. Really good. My favourite part of today is probably, I put a box around it earlier on actually, is the single source of truth. The power of having the single source of truth to make informed decisions and change my business and my life off the back of it. So that was my favourite bit. What about you, Simon? What was your favourite part of today?
Well, that's the bit I got most, I suppose, emotive over.
Yeah,
so, the dashboard, the sexiness of it, I suppose. I mean, that is fundamental. That's where you go from being reactive, firefighting, to proactive, to looking at the data, from, turn that data into information to allow you to make a decision. That's where you start being proactive. So you can see, leads are down this month. Okay, let's do something about it. Where if you're looking at sales and you don't have the number of leads or whatever, it's gone. That moment has passed. There's nothing you can do. You're being reactive the whole time. Whereas, as I say, something like this, single source of truth in front of you as a decision maker, that's a game changer for any business.
And what about you, Tom?
I would agree with that. I think just generally reflecting on some of the challenges that we see customers face and talking through between the three of us our advice for them, I think that's quite insightful.
Yeah, beautiful. So, Simon, Tom, Ignyto, thank you very much indeed. See you next time.
Cheers.